Hi. Before we start this video, I wanted to let you know that this isn't a well-developed and polished review. This is actually a vlog-style raw thoughts and emotions on whatever I had just recently saw. Because of that, every topic that I enjoyed or maybe didn't enjoy that I wanted to talk about, I probably wasn't able to because I didn't think about it at the time of recording these. With that said, I hope you enjoy my thoughts on this video. Okay, so I just finished watching the third season of Smallville, and I decided I want to talk about my thoughts on the first three seasons because I'm watching the show for the first time now, and there's just I just wanted to give my thoughts about it while I'm very early on in the process of watching the show, and I think that this should be fun. So yeah, Smallville. I had never watched the show. I'd always known about it. Uh, if my memory serves me correct, it was a fairly popular show at the time it was airing. I do remember seeing trailers for the show for Get the DVDs Now, Season 1, Season 2, and seeing those trailers. And as a kid, I don't think I had really liked Smallville or just cared about him. I didn't even consider um, it Superman because, to be honest, it's not really Superman. It's a Clark Kent TV show about him in Smallville learning to become Superman. And now that I'm older, I can appreciate this concept. I think it's one that hasn't really been explored a whole lot. We do see Smallville that time period in the movies, but it's like typically reduced to about 10-15 minutes, except for the Christopher Reeves one, which was about 20 minutes. And that didn't really show a whole lot about his time there. So I can appreciate that aspect of the show, of it actually trying to be the start of this superhero character. But yeah, as a kid, when watching it, when I didn't watch it, I'd always consider this Superman to be fake Superman because he had like Superman's ability, but like he wasn't really acting like Superman from the trailers that I saw. Like he was younger, he didn't fly, all he did was run. Uh he didn't have that costume. And for me as a kid, I could tell even back then that the graphics of the show weren't as high budget as you would a feature film. And so then I just called him fake Superman as a kid. Now I'm watching him. I've been wanting to watch this show for a long time now because, it's a show that I hadn't really given the benefit of the doubt. I knew it was popular. It's a Superman show, which is interesting. 10 seasons long. And that's one of the big reasons why I never watched the show. Reason one, it wasn't on any platform that I was watching at the time for so long. It wasn't really on Netflix where I was, and I didn't have Hulu where I was. And once I finally got Hulu, the reason two was because it's 10 seasons long, and that's a really long endeavor. And it's not like 10 seasons long, 13 episodes, 20 minutes. It's 10 seasons of 22, 23 episodes a season, 40 minutes long. And add the fact that on Hulu, I have ads on Hulu, which turns it to about 50 minutes. And so it's a long endeavor. I finished season 3. I started this show about a couple months ago, so it's taking my time. Also, this show being part of the CW, even though it's part of the CW era that was better than what we have today, it's still not exactly what I would call a binge worthy show. You had to take breaks. I had to take breaks with this show. And so right now I gave myself in season 3 a steady pace of watching one episode a day. Two, if I think that the story's getting interesting, and maybe I'll binge near the end of a season just to finish the season. But yeah, that's where I'm at right now. So far, what are my thoughts? I think so far they did a pretty good job. My favorite season, of course, is the first season. That's where the big mystery of Clark is most present. We don't know he's from Krypton. We don't know anything about his parents. We it's everything about him is a mystery, and it's so strange watching it like that because I know he's Superman. I know he's Kal-El. I know he's from Krypton. I know his father's Jor-El. I know that he was sent here because his planet was destroyed. I know this and that, this and that. But this Clark doesn't know that. And it's strange watching a show about Clark Kent and he doesn't know who he is for a long time because they drag this stuff out. And I gotta say, it's intriguing. And I think the mystery of Clark kind of isn't handled the best in later seasons when we get Jor-El. Honestly, this is probably the most unique take on Superman and his origins that we've seen. Um, there's a cave in Smallville that somehow originated with Krypton stuff. I don't know. It's strange, convenient things that only happens on TV shows to build the mystery. I honestly don't know if the writers planned out a lot of this stuff. I don't know if they had planned out to do Native American caves as part of Krypton's rituals or something. The writing on the caves, on the mystery of the ship, the octagonal, the disc for the ship just seems like the writers pull the stuff out of their butt because they want to keep it a mystery and not give us all the answers all at once. And when they do that, they just make it confusing. Like the octagonal disc and the ship disappears so many times in the show, and I don't know how it does that. Like in the finale, the disc is on the ship. It gets put there. And we see the disc fly off somewhere for some reason and doesn't do anything. And then we find the ship again, and the disc is in Lex Luthor's hand or Lionel's. It ends up with Lionel at some point. And it's never explained how he found it or what happened to that disc. And the same thing happened here where they put the disc in the wall, this disappears for some reason, and now the disc is with Christopher Reeve for some reason. And they don't explain that. Maybe they will, but yeah, let's talk about Christopher Reeve. He appears in season 2 when we finally reveal that Clark is Kal-El from a planet called Krypton. And I love that scene, it's done so well. You bring back one of the best versions of Superman who's in his wheelchair, who's after his accident comes back to do this performance, and I just love that detail. I love that they brought him back for this one thing. And then in season 3 they bring him back again, which I feel like they've overused Christopher Reeve at that point in season 3 because now he's kind of turning into a villain, kind of not. He has the disc now, but guess what? That episode will be the last appearance that Christopher Reeve will perform. Cause a few months later he passes away. Which means that he can't return. And the mystery of the disc will have to be done a different way. I don't know. I don't know how they're going to do that, but their plans with Christopher Reeve got thrown out the window when he passed away. And because of that, I feel that his appearance in season 3 really diminishes his appearance in season 2. Because it was so special to see him. And I don't think they should have brought him back a second time. Alright, so let's talk about the characters for a minute here. Starting off with Tom Welling as Clark Kent. I think that they chose a very good actor to portray a young Superman, a Clark Kent. Like, when watching this show for these past few seasons, I'm looking at Tom Welling, and I could see hints of Christopher Reeves. He looks like Superman, especially when he's younger. I think that Tom Welling's best look was the first season. As the seasons keep going on, Tom Welling isn't a teenager in this show. He's much older. And you can tell. Like, he's getting much bulkier. More bulkier than a high school student should be. In just this past season alone, in season 3. It's... I don't know. And, like, seeing images from future seasons of him, it's kind of... I don't know. It's hard to describe it, but he's not as believably young as he should be, just on his body type. His face is fine, but his body type just makes him look older. Then we have Lex Luthor, which is... Honestly, this is probably my second favorite version of Lex Luthor. Michael Rosenbaum, I just love watching him on screen. Partially because I loved his performance as the Flash in the Justice League TV show. But yeah, besides Clancy Brown's DC Animated Universe Lex Luthor, this Lex Luthor is probably my favorite live action version for sure. Probably the most comic accurate that we could have in a live action Lex Luthor. Now, would I want Michael to return in like a different Superman project? Maybe, but I would probably want to give someone else a chance. I would really love to see Bryan Cranston as a Lex Luthor. I think that would be interesting. And then we have Lana Lang, which, knowing Superman from other movies and shows, Lana was a very important character in his high school youth, which they show here. They show his love interest in her, but the problem that I'm seeing here is that she's being treated as if she is Clark's one and true love. Although I know that's not true. She's not with Clark at the end. He's with Lois. And so when they're just giving so much attention, this teenage drama attention about romance for Lana, and it's lasting these 3 seasons, and they're like, always will they, won't they? It's almost pointless to watch, because I know they're not going to end up together. And while, like, yeah, it would be nice to see their romance become something, because I know that's not going to happen, especially since after watching Crisis on Infinite Earths, which is another reason why I wanted to watch Smallville, seeing that he ends up with Lois, Lana is just kind of, who's this girl? What's she doing here? Uh, but yeah, so at the end of this third season, she is going to Paris. So if she doesn't come back for a while, that should be fine. So then we have Jonathan and Martha Kent, who I love these actors that they're playing. Martha, I love the fact that they brought Lana from Superman 3 to play the mother. And Jonathan Kent, he's a really good actor. I like seeing him as the father. He just feels like that. These are good Kents. One of the best Kents I've seen, besides, again, the DC Animated Universe ones are just, they're a cute old couple. This one is like a nice, mature, middle-aged family, which you feel the fatherly connection more with this Martha and Jonathan. Then we have Chloe, who is a character that I really like this character. But Allison Mack, the actress who plays this character, has let's just say she's done many regrettable things in her life. And it's such a shame seeing this actress who does a really good job at playing this character, but she goes through this tragic part of her life that just brings a tragic aura when watching this character now. Like, what happens to the actress, where she is now, and just how this sweet girl that we see on screen ends up being someone who was very messed up. I mean, watching Michael Rosenbaum's podcast and him talking about Allison is just so sad and tragic. And like watching the show, I like her character so much, but it's just sad watching her because I'm watching a point in her life, the actor's life, watching that is, at that point, she wasn't messed up. And it's sad seeing a window of someone before tragedy and knowing that something's going to happen later on. It's interesting viewing it, but it's also, I don't know, it's not great. And then probably one of the more interesting characters in the show that was surprising to me because we never really had this kind of character. Lionel Luthor, who's Lex Luthor's dad. I love every time Lionel and Lex are on screen together. They're a pair. Their war against each other is so fascinating. Like, I love those actors together. I mean, Lionel, great actor. He's so intimidating. You see, like, his businessman side. He's so ruthless. That does a great actor for him. And what's so interesting is that we never got to see Lionel in any other project. Like, what we've known is that Lex, in the comics, he kills his parents. Just like Lionel in this show kills his parents. So it's interesting to see Lex's father, which we never got to see before in any other project. Let's talk about Kryptonite. Kryptonite is all over Smallville. It came in a meteor shower, which I guess that concept makes a whole lot of sense. But Kryptonite is just a tool in this show. It really is. Every single episode, Clark finds himself in a situation where he's surrounded by kryptonite. And every episode, that's always the exact same point where he meets that episode's villain. And so he gets his butt kicked all the time because he's surrounded by kryptonite. This is where I see a lot of the flaws I see in Arrow, in Flash, where it's really formulaic, where they encounter their villain of the episode and they get beaten, and they beat him the second time. But in Smallville, it makes the most sense. Clark is weakened by kryptonite, and his encounters are believable, more believable than the Flash, who's the fastest man alive, getting beat because someone punched him. You know, it would really help if Flash didn't just run up to them, try and have a conversation, forgets he has speed, then runs up to them normally to throw a normal punch, and then he gets beaten. Happens all the time in The Flash. And speaking of The Flash, Clark Kent is a better Flash than Barry Allen is in his own show. Seriously, like Clark uses his speed so much in the show, and he uses it the way that I wish the Flash would use it in his own show. This past season, Clark is on the phone. Lana is about to get shot. Lana tells Clark her address, where she's at, the exact moment the gun trigger is pulled. Clark runs so fast that he outruns the bullet, gets to that location before it gets to Lana. And that's way faster than anything we've seen Flash do in his own show against bullets and beams or whatever. It's so jarring how bad Barry is in that show, and how Clark Kent, who isn't even the fastest man alive, is so much faster in a show where he's supposed to not be the Flash but be Superman. It's so hilarious watching it, so jarring, it's I don't know. I still love the Flash, Arrow, and I'm loving Smallville, but it's, you notice these problems, and you noticed how today's CW is just having a lot of issues breaking out of their formula that has worked so many years. And it's getting repetitive. The emotional drama in Smallville with Lana, Chloe, and Clark, the will they, won't they, is the worst part of the show for me. Because every single time Chloe or Lana want to move away from Clark, and they meet someone, and they start getting interested in someone, Clark is always like, "You should be careful. I don't trust them." And, they're like, "Clark, you gotta let me do my thing." And the thing that I hate so much is that Clark should be wrong. He should be wrong. He should take their advice and say, "Clark, not everything's about you. I want to move on." But because Clark is the hero of the show, what happens is Clark is right, and the person that Lana or Chloe want to date turn out to be the villains of the episode and try to kill them at the end. And it's so frustrating because Clark telling him, "Be careful, I don't trust them." He has no evidence. He's just jealous. He has no physical proof that they're untrustworthy. Only empirical evidence where they gave him a look that he didn't like, and he's like, "Oh, they're bad guys. Don't date them." It frustrates me so much how, one, Clark every single time has to be right whenever someone else wants to date Chloe or Lana. And he shouldn't be right. Two, Chloe and Lana, whenever Clark does that, they don't trust them. Even though Clark has given them so many reasons to to trust them. He's always telling the truth about something. and then they don't believe him when it's about them. It's so strange. So there is one thing about the show that as every week the more I'm watching, the more I see that there's an unrealistic writing and expectation for these high school students. And I think the writers, when writing this, keep forgetting that these are high school students. And they're writing these characters about the same age as the actors, and they're playing these characters more mature. Almost every episode and every week, someone dies. And who dies? Students, family of students, and teachers in every episode. And the characters, they're just like nonchalant about it. It's like, oh, did you hear about that so-and-so who died and drowned in this horrible fire accident on ice? And the other character's like, oh yeah, that's pretty weird, such a bummer. That's not how it would be in high school. When someone in your high school dies, the entire school feels it. And let me tell you, this entire school should be scarred for life. They're messed up. Every week, a best friend dies, their teachers die, the principal of the school dies, or they're murderers, people that they've known for so long. They're freaks, they're murderers, they're killers, they're dyers. And their reactions, the emotions of this death mean nothing to them, and they should. I could say from personal experience that when a member of your school dies, it's heartbreaking, and the week of is solemn. You don't go to classes normally. You're not talking in the hall. It's like, hey, did you hear that the principal died? It's like, oh yeah, I did. That's such a shame. It's like, oh my gosh, the principal died. Like, I just saw that person like yesterday. Like, life is futile. I mean, there should be a much more emotional, deep reaction to people dying. But because it's a TV show, and because it's fiction, they don't account for these kind of emotions. And it bugs me. It bugs me because I could believe this kind of thing if, like, they were off in the real world being adults and such. But because they're high school, and I say high school, this is very important, high school, most important years of a person's life, where tragic stuff like this can really mess up someone, and this happens every week, they should be really messed up. They don't address it. It's just like, yeah, they died. Oh, that's a bummer. Anyway, did you catch the game last night? Smallville. What are you doing? So since I just finished the third season, I'm just gonna talk about where we left off and what I think is gonna happen. First things first. Clark is taken by Jor-El. I don't know how that's gonna look like. I know that there's still 7 more seasons of the show, so Clark comes back. I hope it's not like a Flashpoint in season 3 where the Flash goes somewhere for one episode, comes back, and nothing changes about his world or the way he views things. He's the exact same character since season 1 and his view. I hope Clark goes through a change of some kind. He comes out of it thinking things differently. He's not the exact same. Otherwise, what's the point of that finale? It's a cliffhanger. This is a big cliffhanger, by the way. 2. Lana moves to Paris. I don't want to see Lana come back this season. If she does, why? I mean, I know the actress comes back. Looking at IMDb, she's the main character, and Understanding how television works. You don't write off a character if the actor is still willing to be part of the show. And Lana, she's gonna come back, and I hope that she doesn't come back this next season, or if she does come back this next season, it's on the second half of the season. 3. Lionel's in prison, and he had his head shaved. Don't know what becomes of that, but that's something. 4. Lex gets poisoned when drinking scotch and seemingly dies. So if Lex is dead, he's not. But I don't know what they're gonna do to that. It's just cliffhanger bait, and they're gonna scrub it, just throw it somewhere. 21. Jonathan, from the final shot, looks like he was choked to death, and if he's dead, I think you wasted your potential with that character and how Clark would react to it. Honestly, television, Clark should be at his deathbed, holding his hand, saying, "Dad, don't go," and Jonathan dies of a heart attack. That's how Jonathan should die. Not gets choked out while Clark goes off into space or something. W. Chloe gets blown up. But the thing is, I know she's not dead because, one, the actress and IMDb shows that she is a main character, and 2, the poster on Hulu shows a much later season when they're in the Daily Planet, and Chloe is there, even though she should be dead. I mean, her house blew up. She was right there at the door. We saw the flames consume her-ish. She should be dead. How she's not going to be dead, I don't know, but she should be dead. So what I think is going to happen this next season, I don't know. Something's going to happen. I've been enjoying the show. The graphics, the CGI in the show has not aged well. And it's charming. This is one of the shows that, because it's over 10 years old, actually reaching 20 years now, I can look at all the faults and be like, haha, that was so long ago. Like, we've had time to look at those faults and improve them. Except for CW. They still haven't improved in a lot of their faults. But yeah, the CGI graphics are horrendous. But they're funny. I like seeing them. Because I like the concept that they were trying to go with. But again, the execution at that time just couldn't meet the high quality that they really needed to fully show it off. So a lot of stuff with this show hasn't aged the best because of the time that the show came out. Like, technology wasn't where it's at now. And because of that, I can look at the show and say, okay, it's a bit old, but it's charming. I can enjoy this, and I can enjoy it. I know that if I were to watch this episode weekly, with all the kryptonite, with all the emotional stuff, as it was airing, I'd be so frustrated. I'd be like, bro, every episode you're dealing with kryptonite. How? But because it's 20 years old, it's like, I don't have to worry about that because I can just watch it all right now. So, yeah, those are my thoughts for the first 3 seasons. I'm not going to do it season by season, more thoughts. I'm probably just going to do from seasons 4 to 6 next time. So, yeah, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you all next time. Bye.